The first time I realized my roommate might be in love with me, she was asleep with her cheek pressed against my shoulder, one hand curled in the fabric of my sweatshirt like she had claimed me in a dream, and her phone was glowing on the couch cushion between us. I wasn't trying to look, I swear that matters. But when a screen lights up in a dark living room at 1:17 in the morning, your eyes go there, the way people look at lightning. The message wasn't sent. It was just sitting there in the little text box beneath her mother's name. I wish he saw me the way I see him. For a second, the rain outside got quieter, or maybe my heartbeat got louder. My name is Ben Callahan. I was 31 then, working as a freelance audio engineer in Nashville, which sounds cooler than it is. Mostly it meant I spent my days removing mouth clicks from podcast interviews and pretending I didn't miss playing guitar in bars where nobody listened. Tessa Reed was 29, a pediatric nurse with a laugh that could turn a bad room good, and a talent for making boxed macaroni taste like she had studied in Paris. She had moved into my spare room 8 months earlier after my sister set us up as two responsible adults who won't murder each other over dishes. My sister had been half right. We didn't murder each other. The dishes were a war zone. Tessa was the kind of woman who put sticky notes on leftovers that said things like, "Eat this and I'll haunt you," then left half her coffee mugs in impossible places. Bathroom windowsill, bookshelf, once inside the laundry basket like she was hiding evidence. I was the kind of man who alphabetized spices and kept backup batteries in labeled drawers. We should have hated each other. Instead, we had become something. Not dating, not siblings, not strangers. Some dangerous third category where she knew how I took my coffee, and I knew that after a hard shift, she didn't want advice. She wanted silence, a blanket, and for somebody to sit close enough to remind her the world wasn't all hospital fluorescent lights and tiny oxygen masks. That night, she came home after 14 hours with rain in her hair and exhaustion under her eyes. I was at the kitchen counter editing a true crime podcast episode about a man who definitely should have been arrested in 2008, wearing headphones and eating cereal from a mixing bowl because every normal bowl was in the dishwasher. Tessa kicked the door shut with her heel and stared at me. "Please tell me that's not my mixing bowl." I pulled off one headphone. "I can tell you that." "Is it true?" "No." She dropped her bag, pointed at me, and tried to look stern. The effect was ruined by the little wet curl stuck to her cheek. I wanted to brush it away. That was the problem lately. I wanted a lot of small things I had no business wanting. To touch the back of her hand when she reached for the salt. To stand too close when we both brushed our teeth at midnight. To ask who made her smile at her phone and then pretend I didn't care about the answer. Tessa narrowed her eyes. "You're lucky I'm too tired to prosecute. Would you accept a plea deal?" "Depends. I make grilled cheese. You choose the movie. I don't complain if it has subtitles." Her mouth twitched. "That's suspiciously generous. You look like you fought a vending machine and lost." "I saved a 6-year-old from swallowing a Lego astronaut today." "Then you deserve 2 cheeses." She leaned one hip against the counter, and for a moment the kitchen light caught the tired softness of her face. No makeup. Damp scrubs. Those hazel eyes that always seemed to notice more than I wanted them to. "You always do that," she said. "Do what?" "Make things lighter without pretending they aren't heavy." I looked down at the cereal bowl because compliments from Tessa were oddly hard to survive. "It's a gift," I said. "Also avoidance." She laughed, but it came out thin. So I made grilled cheese. We sat on the couch with a thunderstorm pressing against the windows, eating off paper towels because neither of us had the emotional strength for plates. She chose an old black and white romantic comedy she claimed was cinematic medicine. I claimed I was watching under protest, but somewhere around the second witty misunderstanding, I stopped pretending. Tessa tucked her feet beneath her. The apartment smelled like butter, rain, and her lavender shampoo. She kept glancing at me when the couple on screen almost kissed. "What?" I asked. "Nothing." "You have a face?" "Everyone has a face, Ben. Yours is making commentary." She smiled into her grilled cheese. "I just think you'd be terrible in a romantic comedy." "Excuse me? You're too practical. The woman would confess her feelings in the rain and you'd hand her a towel and ask if she checked the weather app." That is called emotional support. That is called fear with pockets. I turned toward her. Fear with pockets? You keep everything organized so you don't have to feel surprised. That landed closer than I wanted. My last real relationship had ended 2 years earlier with a woman named Vanessa telling me I was kind, dependable, and impossible to reach. She said loving me felt like knocking on a beautiful locked door. I'd hated that she said it. I'd hated more that she was right. So I kept things tidy: work, rent, groceries, friendships with borders. Tessa had been ruining that system since the day she moved in and labeled my oat milk sad cow cosplay. I cleared my throat. And you? What would your romantic comedy problem be? She looked back at the TV. I'd fall for someone unavailable. Something changed in the room, not loud, not dramatic, just a tiny shift, like a door opening somewhere down the hall. I waited for her to make a joke. She didn't. The movie played on, all crackling dialogue and orchestra swells. Tessa's shoulder brushed mine once. Then again. The second time, neither of us moved away. I could have said something. I probably should have. Instead, I sat there like a man defusing a bomb made entirely of feelings. 20 minutes later, her head dipped. She fought sleep with the stubbornness of someone who considered rest a personal insult. Then the next thunderclap rolled through, and she startled just enough to lean into me. Her cheek settled against my shoulder. Her hand found my sleeve. I stopped breathing like an idiot. "Tess?" I whispered. You falling asleep on purpose?" "No," she murmured. "Your shoulder is just aggressively comfortable." I smiled in the dark. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about my shoulder. Don't make it weird. Too late, I thought. The movie ended. The credits rolled. Rain tapped the glass. I stayed still because waking her felt cruel and because some selfish part of me wanted 5 more minutes of being chosen, even by accident. That was when her phone lit up. A notification banner appeared first. Her mom. "Did you ever tell him?" Then the screen shifted, still unlocked from earlier, opening to the message thread. I saw the unsent text. "I wish he saw me the way I see him." My whole body went hot. Tessa shifted against me, her fingers tightening once in my sweatshirt. Like even asleep, she didn't want me to leave. I stared at those words until they blurred. He? It could have been anyone. A doctor at work. Some guy from her gym. The neighbor who carried his bike upstairs and smiled too much. I told myself that because it was safer. Then another text from her mom appeared beneath the first. "Honey, if Ben doesn't know by now, maybe it's time you stop protecting his heart and tell him the truth." Tessa stirred. Her eyes opened halfway, hazy and warm, still resting on me like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Ben?" she whispered. I looked from her phone to her face, and before I could decide whether to pretend I'd seen nothing or ask the question that could ruin our entire apartment, she followed my gaze, saw the screen, and went completely still. Tessa sat up so fast she nearly headbutted me. I grabbed her elbow on instinct. "Careful!" She snatched her phone off the cushion, her face going from sleepy soft to wide-awake horror in half a second. "Oh my God! Tess, you saw that." I could have lied. Honestly, lying would have been kinder in the short term. A gentleman would have said, "Saw what?" and carried her dignity gently out of the room. Unfortunately, I had never been as smooth as the men in her black and white movies. "I saw enough," I said. She closed her eyes. "I need to move to Iceland." "That seems extreme. I'll become one of those people who raises sheep and never speaks to men named Ben again." "There are probably Bens in Iceland." "Then farther." The joke landed, but barely. Her fingers trembled around the phone. She pulled her knees to her chest, creating space between us where there hadn't been any before, and I hated it immediately. I sat back, palms open. "I wasn't snooping." "I know." Her voice was small. "You're annoyingly honorable. Only on weekdays." "It's Saturday." "Then forget everything I just admitted." She looked at me, and there was a shine in her eyes that made the teasing fall away. "Tessa," I said quietly, "was it about me?" She stared down at the phone screen, then pressed the lock button like turning off the light could erase the words. For a long moment, there was only the rain. Finally, she whispered, "Yes." One syllable, that was all. But it knocked the air out of me. I had imagined it, feared it, wanted it in secret places I did not inspect too closely. Still, hearing her say it felt like stepping through a door and realizing the whole house had been waiting for me. "How long?" I asked. She gave a weak laugh. "That's your first question?" "My first question was going to be whether your mother has always been this terrifying, but I'm prioritizing." Tessa wiped beneath one eye with her sleeve. "Too long." "Tess." She hugged her knees tighter. "I don't know. It wasn't one lightning bolt moment. It was stupid things. You buying the oat milk I like even though you call it beige water. You learning my shift schedule so you could accidentally make too much dinner on bad nights. The way you pause your work when I come home even if you're wearing those giant headphones and pretending to be a very serious music goblin." "I am a respected music goblin." Her mouth curved, then faded. "And then one day, I realized I was saving stories to tell you first. Not my mom, not my friends. You." She looked at me then, exposed and brave and terrified. And I knew I was in trouble. My chest ached, because I knew that feeling. The ridiculous mental habit of collecting pieces of your day like offerings. A dog in a raincoat because Tessa would laugh. A song from a cafe because she'd say it sounded like coffee had feelings. A recipe I didn't care about because she once mentioned liking cardamom. I had built a whole quiet room for her inside myself and acted surprised to find her living there. "I'm sorry," she said. That snapped something in me. "Don't do that." She blinked. "Do what?" "Apologize for caring about me. I'm apologizing because we live together. Because this makes things weird. Because you have rules about everything, and I just set one on fire." I leaned forward. "I don't have rules about everything." She gave me a look. "Fine," I said. "I have many excellent rules. You label your extension cords. Safety is sexy." Despite herself, she laughed. It came out watery. I took the smallest risk of my adult life and reached for her hand. Not her shoulder, not her elbow. Her hand. She watched my fingers cover hers, and the room changed again. Her hand was warm, smaller than mine, a little rough from constant washing at the hospital. She didn't pull away. "I need to tell you something," I said. She went very still. "I saw you tonight in the kitchen with that curl stuck to your cheek, and I wanted to touch your face." Her breath caught. I kept going before fear could reorganize me. "I want that a lot. Small things, dumb things. I want to be the person you look for when you walk in the door. I want you to steal my sweatshirts and complain that I buy boring cereal. I want to take you somewhere that isn't our couch and call it dinner, without pretending it's just because we're both hungry." Tessa's eyes searched mine. "Ben?" "I don't know exactly when it happened either," I said, "but it happened." Her fingers turned under mine until we were palm to palm. "You're not just saying that because I accidentally emotionally flashed you?" I laughed, low and helpless. "No, although that was memorable." She bit her lip, and my attention dropped there before I could stop it. A little silence stretched between us. Not awkward this time. Charged. Dangerous. Hopeful. Tessa noticed me looking at her mouth. Of course she did. She noticed everything. "If you kiss me because of pity," she whispered, "I'll put salt in your coffee for a month. I'm not feeling very pitiful." "No. No. What are you feeling?" It would have been easy to make a joke, to duck, to be the locked door Vanessa once accused me of being. Instead, I let Tessa see me. Scared, I admitted, and happy, and about 10 seconds away from doing something I've wanted to do for months. Her eyes softened. "Only months?" I groaned. "Don't weaponize honesty already. I'm a nurse. I use available tools." I lifted my free hand slowly, giving her time to move away. She didn't. My fingertips brushed the curl at her cheek, the one I had wanted to touch earlier, and tucked it behind her ear. Her lashes fluttered. The tiny sound she made nearly ended me. "Tess," I said, because her name suddenly felt like a question. She answered by leaning in. The kiss was soft at first, careful, Two people stepping onto ice testing whether it would hold. Then her hand slid up my chest and gripped the collar of my sweatshirt and careful got lost. I kissed her like I had been starving politely. She tasted like rain and melted cheese and the peppermint gum she chewed after work. Her knee pressed into my thigh. My hand found her waist and she made another small sound, this one less surprised. When we broke apart, neither of us moved far. Her forehead rested against mine. Well, she breathed. That was an extremely roommate-inappropriate use of the couch. We should file a complaint. Against who? Your mom, technically. She started this. Tessa laughed, and this time it was real. Full. Bright enough to warm the dark room. Then her smile wobbled. What happens now? She asked. I wanted to say everything. I wanted to say move into my room, marry me eventually. Never look at anyone else like that. Instead, I chose something true and not terrifying. Now I ask you on a date. Her eyebrows rose. A date? Yes, with shoes and lighting that isn't from a television screen. Ambitious. Tomorrow night, I'll pick you up at your bedroom door. She pretended to consider. Will there be food? I'm not an amateur. Will you wear the blue shirt? The one you claim makes me look less like a tax attorney? The very one. I squeezed her hand. Yes. Her expression went tender. Then yes, Ben. I'll go on a date with you. For a while after that, we just sat there holding hands like teenagers who had discovered electricity. Eventually, she yawned and I walked her the 12 feet to her bedroom because suddenly even familiar distances felt ceremonial. At her door, she turned. This is going to be complicated, she said. Probably. We're good at complicated? We're good at grilled cheese. That's not the same thing. No, I said, but it's a start. She smiled, then rose on her toes and kissed my cheek. Not my mouth. Somehow that made it worse. Sweeter. More deliberate. Good night, Ben. Good night, Tess. Her door clicked shut. I stood in the hallway with my hand on my cheek like an absolute fool. Then, from behind the door, her phone pinged. A second later, she groaned loud enough for me to hear. My mom says you're welcome. The next morning, I woke up with the strange, electric panic of a man who had kissed his roommate and then agreed to pick her up from a room 8 steps from his own. For 10 minutes, I lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. Her hand in my sweatshirt, her mouth under mine, her voice saying, "Then yes, Ben." Then I remembered something worse. I had to see her in the kitchen. There is no graceful way to encounter a woman after a life-altering kiss when she is also the person whose laundry is currently in your dryer. I found Tessa standing barefoot by the coffee maker, wearing one of my old band t-shirts and sleep shorts, her hair piled on top of her head like it had lost a fight. She turned when I walked in. We both froze. Morning, I said. Morning. The coffee maker gurgled loudly, apparently desperate to participate. I leaned against the counter. So. Nice shirt? She glanced down, then lifted her chin. I stole it before the kiss, so legally it doesn't count as romantic theft. Good to know. There are categories. Many. I nodded, trying not to stare at her legs. Failing, but respectfully. She noticed. Of course she noticed. Her mouth curved. Ben Callahan, are you objectifying my knees? Your knees are being very forward. They've had a big night. I laughed and the tension broke like a soap bubble. Tessa poured coffee into 2 mugs. Mine was the blue-chipped one she hated because it looked like a sad accountant-made pottery. Hers was yellow with a little bees on it. She handed mine over, our fingers brushing. The smallest contact. Still, we both went quiet. Her cheeks colored. I had the ridiculous urge to kiss her right there, between the sugar jar and the unpaid electric bill. Instead, I said, about tonight. Her eyes lifted. Are you canceling our extremely long-distance date? Never. I'm confirming details. Very professional. I'll knock at 6:30. On my door. That was the agreement. Should I pretend to be surprised? Please, I'm hoping for light theatricality. She took a sip of coffee, watching me over the rim. And where are we going? It's a surprise. I hate surprises. You told me I keep things organized so I don't have to feel surprised. Yes, but I meant you should grow as a person, not involve me. Too late. Growth is contagious. Her smile was soft, but something uncertain moved underneath it. What? I asked. She set her mug down. I'm just trying to figure out how to act. With me? Yeah. She leaned back against the counter. Last night I knew what to do because I was half asleep and humiliated. Weirdly clarifying. This morning I'm awake and wearing your shirt. I like you wearing my shirt. Her eyes warmed. That helps. I don't want you to perform normal, I said, or different, or whatever you think I need. Just be you. That's dangerous advice. I know who I'm talking to. She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell her shampoo and coffee. And you'll be you? Not locked door, Ben? I swallowed. There it was, the thing she had seen without me handing it to her. I'll try, I said. Tessa studied me for a moment, then reached up and tapped 2 fingers lightly over my heart. Try out loud, she said. Then she took her coffee and walked away, leaving me in the kitchen with a pulse like a drumline. At 6:30 exactly, I stood outside her bedroom door wearing the blue shirt. I had showered twice, changed 3 times, briefly considered flowers, then panicked over whether flowers were too much for a first date with a woman who had already seen me eat cereal from cookware. So I brought a single sunflower from the corner market because Tessa once said roses looked like they were trying too hard. I knocked. From inside, she called, "One second." Then, quieter, "Oh no, why am I nervous? He lives here." I smiled at the door. When she opened it, I forgot every clever thing I'd prepared. She wore a green dress I'd never seen before, simple and soft, with little buttons down the front and sleeves that tied at her shoulders. Her hair was down. Her mouth had some kind of glossy thing happening that made it very difficult to remember we were standing in a hallway next to a thermostat. "Hi," she said. "Hi." Her gaze dropped to my shirt. "You wore it. You negotiated strongly. And you brought me a flower. It's not trying too hard." Her expression changed. Tenderness, bright and unguarded. She took the sunflower, brushing her thumb over the yellow petals. "I love it," she said. 3 words, not the 3 words. Still, they hit somewhere deep. Our date was at a tiny Italian place on the east side, tucked between a record shop and a laundromat. Nothing fancy. Red candles, wobbly tables, a waiter who called everyone baby regardless of age or gender. Tessa sat across from me, glowing in candlelight, and I had the strange sensation of seeing someone familiar from a new angle, like a favorite song played acoustic. "So," she said, unfolding her napkin. "First date questions?" "Absolutely." "Do you have any secret felonies?" "No." "Boring but comforting." "Allergic to cats?" "No." "Good. If this goes anywhere, I want an elderly rescue cat named Meatball." "Noted. Do you believe soup is a meal?" "With bread, yes." She pointed at me. "Correct answer." The waiter came by and Tessa ordered confidently for both of us after I admitted I'd never been there. She chose ravioli, bruschetta, and some lemon dessert I couldn't pronounce. "You like feeding people," I said after the waiter left. "I like knowing what people need." She folded her hands, then looked down. "Sometimes too much." "What do you mean?" She traced the edge of her water glass. "At work, I'm good in crisis. At home, with people I care about, I start guessing, anticipating, making myself easy to keep." She gave a small smile that didn't reach her eyes. "My last boyfriend loved that until he didn't. Then he said I was clingy." I felt anger flare, but I kept my voice gentle. "You're not clingy? You don't know that. I might be secretly unbearable. I live with you." "Exactly, you've been exposed gradually, like building immunity." I reached across the table, palm up. She looked at my hand, then placed hers in it. "I don't want easy to keep Tessa," I said. "I want the one who argues about mixing bowls and labels my oat milk with insults. That version is high maintenance." "Good. I maintain things professionally." Her laugh shook loose, but her eyes shone. Then she squeezed my hand. "Your turn. First date vulnerability tax." I groaned. "That sounds legally questionable." "Pay up." So I told her about Vanessa. Not every detail, but enough. The beautiful locked door, the way I'd used steadiness as camouflage, how being dependable had made me feel safe because wanting too much made me feel like someone could take too much. Tessa listened without interrupting. When I finished, she didn't rush to fix it. She just rubbed her thumb over my knuckles. I don't need you to be instantly wide open, she said. But if you hide from me, I'll know. I figured. And I'll knock. I smiled faintly. On the beautiful locked door? No, she said. I'll kick it in. Lovingly. I laughed, and something in my chest loosened. After dinner, we walked under string lights toward the car, full and slow and reluctant to end the night. Halfway down the sidewalk, Tessa slipped her hand into mine like she had always been allowed. I looked down. She bumped my shoulder. Too much? No. I threaded our fingers properly. Not enough. Her breath caught at that, and I felt absurdly proud. At the car, neither of us got in. The air smelled like wet pavement and basil from the restaurant planners. Music drifted faintly from a bar down the street. Tessa leaned against the passenger door, looking up at me. This was a good first date, she said. Was? Are you planning an encore? I'm considering one. What does that involve? I stepped closer, slow enough for her to stop me. She didn't. Her hands found the front of my blue shirt. For the record, this shirt does work. Less tax attorney? Much less. I brushed my thumb along her jaw. For the record, I've wanted to kiss you since you opened your door. Her smile turned soft. I was hoping you'd say that out loud. So I kissed her under the string lights. Not accidental, not panicked, not because a phone betrayed her. This one was chosen. Her arm slid around my waist and she kissed me back like she'd been waiting in the same quiet room I had. When we finally parted, she stayed close, forehead against my chest. I'm scared, she whispered. I wrapped my arms around her. Me too. But I want this. I kissed the top of her head. So do I. And there, beside my perfectly sensible car, holding the woman who had turned my ordered life beautifully upside down, I made the first rule I didn't want to keep. No pretending this was small. Dating your roommate sounds convenient until you realize there is no mysterious exit. After our first date, I did not drive Tessa home. I drove us home, to the same apartment, where her sunflower sat in a glass on the kitchen counter, where my socks were folded in a basket by the couch, where the dishwasher made a suspicious grinding noise like it was judging us. Tessa stood just inside the door, still holding my hand. So, she said, glancing down the hallway, do I thank you for dinner and vanish into my room like a respectable woman? That depends. On whether respectable women kiss in entryways. Her smile went slow and bright. The very best ones do. I backed her gently against the closed door. She went willingly, fingers sliding up. My chest, eyes never leaving mine. There was something powerful about that. Tessa choosing me with the lights on, with no accident or embarrassment to blame. Just want. Hers and mine. I kissed her once, soft. She made an impatient sound and pulled me back. That kiss was not soft. Her hands found my hair. Mine settled at her waist, feeling the warm give of her through the green dress. The whole apartment seemed to shrink until there was only her mouth, her breath, the tiny shiver that went through her when I kissed the corner of her jaw. Ben, she whispered. I drew back immediately. Too much? Her eyes opened, dark and dazed. Not enough, actually, but I appreciate the customer service. I laughed against her shoulder. She rested her forehead on my chest. I don't want to rush and make this messy just because we can't escape each other. Me neither. But I also want to keep doing that. Also me neither. Wait, yes, me too. She smiled. Smooth. I'm under emotional duress. We stood there holding each other, laughing quietly until the heat settled into something sweeter. Then she took my hand and led me to the couch. For an hour we made rules, not the cold kind I used to hide behind. These were warmer, chosen, necessary. No bringing work stress into a fight, no using rent or chores as relationship weapons. If one of us needed space, we said space, not fine. If either of us got scared, we tried out loud. Tessa wrote them on the back of an old takeout menu because she said romance was best when documented near dumpling stains. When we finished, she leaned into my side, legs tucked under her. The way she had the night, everything changed. Only this time, I put my arm around her on purpose. You know, she said, for a man terrified of surprises, you handled this week fairly well. I kissed my roommate. I'm basically a daredevil. You used your turn signal in an empty parking lot tonight. Daredevils can be courteous. She laughed, and I kissed her hair because I could. The next few days were almost ridiculously good. Not perfect, better than perfect. Real. I learned that dating Tessa meant she stole bites from my plate and then looked offended when I noticed. It meant she sent me photos from work of terrible vending machine options with captions like, "Choose your fighter." It meant brushing my teeth beside her at midnight while she made foam mustaches and tried to make me laugh with toothpaste in my mouth. It also meant I had never been more aware of another person in my life. Her bare feet padding past my office, her humming in the shower, her perfume lingering in the hallway after she left for a shift. Wanting her was no longer a secret I could manage privately. It lived in the apartment with us, sat at breakfast, folded itself into laundry. On Thursday, she came home early. I was in my office editing dialogue when I heard the door open, then close softly. Too softly. I found her in the kitchen, still in scrubs, staring into the fridge like it had personally disappointed her. Tess? She didn't turn. I'm fine. Rule violation. First offense. I stepped closer but stopped a few feet away. Space or company? Her shoulders dropped. Company, she whispered. So I moved behind her and wrapped my arms around her waist. She leaned back instantly hard, like she had been holding herself upright with string. No rescue, no fixing, just choosing to be there because she wanted me there. After a minute, she turned in my arms and pressed her face into my shirt. A baby I cared for last month came back in today, she said. Worse. I held her tighter. I know I can't carry all of them home, she said. I know that, but sometimes I do anyway. I'm sorry. She nodded against me. Can you just talk about anything normal? So I told her about an interview I'd edited where a man pronounced espresso 6 different ways in 20 minutes. I told her the dishwasher was either dying or learning jazz. I told her I found one of her mugs in the coat closet. At that, she lifted her head. That was a strategic mug. Against what? You never know. Her smile was tired, but it was there. I brushed my thumb beneath her eye. Come here. I'm already here. Closer. She stepped into me. I kissed her forehead, then her cheek, then paused. Her eyes met mine. Yes, she said softly. I kissed her mouth, slow and careful, until her hands relaxed where they clutched my shirt. When she kissed me back, there was gratitude in it, but also hunger. Choice. Her reaching for me, not just leaning because she was tired. Afterward, I made soup, with bread because I had been tested and passed. That night, she fell asleep beside me on the couch again, but this time her head was in my lap and my hand was in her hair. I thought, dangerously, I could have this forever. The trouble came Saturday. Not dramatic trouble. No villain at the door, just me, being me. My sister called while Tessa was in the shower. She had heard from our mother that I was seeing someone and demanded details. I told her it was new. I told her it was good. Then she asked, "Is it serious?" I looked toward the hallway where steam curled from beneath the bathroom door and Tessa was singing off-key. My chest filled so fast it scared me, so I said, "We're taking it slow." Tessa stopped singing. I turned. The bathroom door was cracked open. I ended the call badly, maybe said goodbye, maybe just committed a felony against etiquette. Tessa came out a few minutes later in sweatpants and a tank top, towel around her shoulders. Her expression was calm in the way calm usually meant a storm had hired a lawyer. "Taking it slow?" she asked. I stood. "That's not how I meant it." "How did you mean it?" The right answer was, I panicked because serious feels like a cliff and I am already falling. What I said was, I didn't want to over-explain. Her face closed a little. I saw it happen, the door I'd hated in myself appearing in her. Right, she said. Of course. Tessa. No, it's fine. Rule violation. Second offense. She walked to her room and shut the door, not slammed. Worse. Quiet. I stood in the living room, furious at myself. For 10 minutes, I rehearsed speeches, sensible ones, defensive ones, cowardly ones. Then I remembered her rule. Try out loud. I went to her door and knocked. No answer. Tess, I said. I'm scared. Silence. Then the door opened. She stood there with damp hair and guarded eyes. I had never hated my own fear more. I said, taking it slow because my sister asked if it was serious, I said. And it is. To me, already. So serious, it knocked the wind out of me and I grabbed the smallest sentence I could find. Her throat moved. You made it sound casual. I know. I don't need you to announce our future to your family, I just… She looked down. I need to know I'm not alone in this. I stepped closer. You're not. Ben, I'm in this, I said. Messy apartment, scary feelings, your future elderly cat named Meatball, I'm in it. Her eyes filled. And I'm sorry, I added. Not because you caught me, because I made you feel like something I'm hiding. Tessa studied my face for a long moment. Then she reached out and grabbed the front of my shirt, tugging me into her room. Good apology, she whispered. Thank you, I suffered. I could tell. She kissed me. It was different from the others, less discovery, more decision. Her mouth firm under mine, her hands sure, mine cupping her face like she was something precious and very much not fragile. When she pulled back, she rested her forehead against my chin. Ask me again, she said. What? What you asked on the couch, somewhere that isn't here. My heart kicked. A date? A real one, next weekend, planned, public. Serious enough to scare you a little. I smiled, breathless. Tessa Reed, will you go on a serious second date with me? She pretended to think. Then her arms slid around my neck. Yes, she said. But you're telling your sister I'm pretty. I kissed her once. Pretty is insufficient. Good recovery. I'm learning. And for the first time in a long time, opening the door didn't feel like losing safety. It felt like letting someone come home. For our serious second date, I overplanned. Naturally. I made a reservation at a little rooftop restaurant Tessa had mentioned exactly once while half asleep. I checked the weather 3 times. I wore the blue shirt again because apparently I believed in luck now. When Tessa opened her bedroom door, she wore a black dress, red lipstick, and an expression that said she knew exactly what she was doing to my blood pressure. I forgot how to speak. She smiled. Ben? Yes. That wasn't a question. I'm aware. Her gaze dropped to the small box in my hand. Please tell me that isn't jewelry. I'm brave, but I'm not second date brave. I looked down. No, emergency breadsticks. She stared. I got nervous, I admitted. You like bread. Her laugh burst out of her, bright and helpless, and she stepped into the hallway to kiss me. Not a quick kiss, not a polite one. A thank you for being ridiculous kiss. When she pulled back, her lipstick was slightly smudged and my heart was a complete liability. Best date gift ever, she said. The rooftop had string lights and a view of the city glowing beneath us. Tessa sat across from me, candlelight on her cheekbones, one heel hooked around the leg of my chair under the table. That small point of contact undid me more than the dress. You're staring, she said. I'm appreciating. Sounds like staring with paperwork. I can file forms if needed. She reached across the table and took my hand. Try out loud. I turned my palm under hers. You look beautiful, and I'm having one of those moments where I can't believe I spent 8 months pretending I only noticed your mug crimes. Her teasing softened. I noticed you too, she said. Before the text, before the couch, I noticed you pretending not to notice me. That sounds exhausting for everyone. It was. Thank you for stopping. After dinner, we didn't go straight home. We walked along the river, her hand tucked in mine, her shoulder bumping mine whenever she laughed. A musician played guitar near the railing, some old love song I used to know, and Tessa slowed. Did you ever miss performing? She asked. Sometimes. Why'd you stop? I looked out at the water. Because it was easier to make music perfect for other people than risk being heard badly myself. She didn't answer right away. Then she said, play for me sometime. That scared me more than kissing her had. So, of course, I said, okay. Her fingers tightened around mine. 2 nights later, I did. Nothing dramatic, just me sitting on the edge of the couch with my old acoustic guitar while Tessa curled up in the corner beneath a blanket, watching like I was doing something sacred instead of fumbling through chords I hadn't played in years. My voice shook at first. Then she smiled. So I kept going. When the song ended, she didn't clap. She crawled across the couch, took the guitar gently from my hands, set it aside, and kissed me with tears on her face. You should let people hear you, she whispered. You are people. I'm your favorite people. I laughed, but my voice broke a little. Yeah, you are. That was the night I knew, not suspected, not hoped. Knew. The words came a week later in the least cinematic place possible, the cereal aisle. Tessa was wearing leggings, an oversized sweatshirt, and no makeup. Her hair was in a messy braid. She had 2 boxes in her hands and was glaring at them like one had betrayed her family. This one has fiber, she said, but this one has tiny marshmallows. Difficult moral terrain. I need you to be supportive. I support marshmallows. She put the fiber cereal back with great seriousness. That's why I keep you. And there it was. The future, suddenly simple. Not rooftop lights or black dresses or perfect timing. Just Tessa choosing bad cereal beside me on a Tuesday night. I love you, I said. She froze with the marshmallow box against her chest. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Somewhere nearby, a child was begging for cookies. A cartwheel squeaked. Tessa turned slowly. You're saying that here? I didn't plan it. You didn't plan something? I know, growth. Her eyes filled, but her smile came first. She stepped close, cereal box still between us. Say it again. I love you, Tessa Reed. She released a shaky breath. I love you too, Ben Callahan. Then she kissed me in the cereal aisle, and an elderly man pushing a cart past us muttered, Good for them. Tessa laughed into my mouth. After that, life did not become perfect. It became ours. We still argued about dishes. She still left mugs in places no mug had any reason to be. I still reorganized the pantry when anxious, though now she called it emotionally laundering the beans. But we got better at catching each other. When she came home heavy from the hospital, she said company before I had to ask. When I went quiet, she tapped my chest and said, door check. And I tried out loud. 3 months after the unsent text, Tessa stopped sleeping in her room. Not officially at first. She just fell asleep in mine one night wearing my shirt again, with her cold feet tucked under my leg. Then again, the next night. Then we both stopped pretending the hallway mattered. We turned her old room into a music room and guest room. The first time I played guitar in there while she folded laundry on the bed, she looked around and said, You realize my accidental text redesigned this entire apartment? I should thank your mother again. She'll never let you forget it. She shouldn't. By the following spring, Meatball arrived. He was not elderly in a dignified way. He was elderly in a screams at closed doors and steals ravioli way. Tessa adored him immediately. I claimed to be neutral until she caught me building him a tiny ramp to the windowsill. You love him, she said. He has mobility concerns. You built him accessible infrastructure. Safety is sexy, she grinned. There's my man. My man? Those 2 words still had the power to stop me. A year after that night on the couch, I proposed in our living room. Not because I lacked imagination, because that was where she had fallen asleep on me, where her phone had lit up, where our lives had quietly split open. I put the ring box beside a plate of grilled cheese and waited until she noticed. Tessa stared at it, then at me, then back at the sandwich. You are proposing with dairy? With 2 cheeses. Her hands flew to her mouth. I got down on one knee anyway, though Meatball immediately tried to climb onto my shoe. Tessa, I said, laughing and crying a little because apparently I was that man now. You saw me when I was trying very hard not to be seen. You knocked. You kicked the door in. You made my life messier, warmer, louder, and better. I don't want to take it slow anymore. I want to take everything with you. She was crying fully by then. Yes, she said before I even asked. I didn't ask. Yes, anyway. Tessa Reed, will you marry me? She dropped to her knees in front of me and took my face in both hands. Yes, Ben. 1,000 times, yes. I kissed her on the floor of our living room, with the rain tapping the windows again, grilled cheese cooling on the coffee table, and Meatball yowling like he had personally arranged the whole thing. Later, after the calls and the champagne and her mother shouting, I knew it! So loudly I had to hold the phone away from my ear, Tessa fell asleep against me on the couch, just like before, her cheek on my shoulder, her hand curled in my sweatshirt. Only this time there was no unsent text glowing between us. Her phone lay dark on the table, forgotten. My ring shone on her finger, and I finally saw her the way she had once hoped I would. Not as my roommate, not as an almost, not as a possibility too frightening to name, as home. What would you have done if you saw an unsent text on your roommate's phone saying they wished you saw them the way they saw you? Have you ever experienced something like that on where one accidental moment revealed feelings someone had been hiding? Tell me your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.